the buzz on the spin. "Calm down, Zabriza," Hoagie says as the tiny woman starts to grind her teeth. "Hey there, howdy-do neighbors," the rusted red bee woman says with a happy cheer as they approach. She looks like she ran through the drying laundry of redneck farmer and it all was just coincidentally her size but not worn properly. "Y'all have something to do with them there, scare going around the local pharmacies?" "Yes, you're the representative from Hive Honeysucker and Hive Sweeties. We're in on things together," the Volboss says happily. "It's always nice to work things out with our neighbors. Now what can I do you for?" "Some damn fool is either being an idiot or tampering with food supplies in one way or another. I need a list of who carries your stuff out so I can test it at every location and figure out where the taint is coming from." "Well, that ain't friendly at all. What kind of dirty oil-drinking daughter of a dumbass does something like that?" the Volba remarks, and Hoagie just shrugs. "I think you summarized it pretty well. A dirty oil-drinking daughter of a dumbass. Are you willing to part with the records from your hive so I can hunt things down, please?" Hoagie asks. "Oh, sure thing there, big guy. Nice to see that someone with them vegan bees is learning his pleases and thank yous," the Volboss says with a tilt of her hat, and Zabreza starts to move. "Calm down, Zabreza," Hawagi says, putting his arm between the two. "See, that's what I'm talking about. Charbus just don't know how to calm down, you know?" the Volboss says blithely as Hoagie raises an eyebrow. "Ma'am, the information, please?" Hoagie asks as he pulls out his communicator. "Oh, right. Well, here you go. Try not to let the grumpy wings get you down," the Volboss says, tapping her communicator near his with a happy wave before zipping off and humming. "There, that wasn't so bad, was it? She's in the middle of a pirate station. Everyone here is armed. It's dangerous. There are so many people killed every day that the outside of the station is developing an atmosphere from all the air torn out of their lungs when they're spaced. Why is she so cheerful? Why is she so carefree? Is she trying to get herself killed? Is she trying to make bees look weak? How has an idiot like that lived this long?" Zabreza rants and Hoagie just raises his eyebrows and waits for her to run out of steam. "Feel better? No. Why do the Volba get everything handed to them? Why do they get to live happy, carefree lives when honest Charbus have to work and work and work to get anything done?" Zabreza rants, and Hawagi's first instinct is to step away from the impending storm, but that will just put him in the crosshairs. So he instead steps closer and plucks her out of the air. "Shh, shh. There's nothing to be gained moaning and complaining why others are the way they are. We can all always ask questions like that. How dare the Alfar live so long? How dare primal Nagasha be all but immortal? How dare humans be immune to null? How dare Charbus stand so strong in a hostile galaxy?" Hoagie asks as he strokes along her back to both soothe the volatile little bee and discourage her from buzzing her wings in irritation. It was all well and good for expressing anger, but it often agitated the Char-bee in question all the more as she buzzed. It was less letting off steam and more psyching up for a fight when a Char-bee did that. That's not what it's about, and you know it. They were born on the same world. Why did they get such an easier time? What, just because they lived in the tropical belt and not the temperate climes? That's not fair. Hoagie says nothing, mostly because he's not sure if there's anything he can say to this. For all that he's getting along well with his Char-bee brides, he's still not a Char-bee himself, so he's not really sure how much of this anger is cultural, genetic, or personal, but it's still there. "Feel better?" Hoagie asks after a minute, and she huffs. "A bit. Some idiots just get lucky. So maybe it's dumb luck, maybe it's something else. Whatever it is, it works for them, but it won't for us. So there's no point in complaining, let's just keep moving. At least she didn't make a pass at you. I'd have shot her if she did," Zabreza remarks. "Well, it's over and now I can get to work." The next step of things is good and boring. I can do it from inside the hive. Right, you're just scanning through information and seeing what leads to where. That's right, which means you can take a nap and catch up on that bit of sleep you missed out on. It's important to get enough sleep, Zabreza. Believe me, this is something I'm an unofficial expert in, he says. An expert in sleeping? I didn't think you were that lazy by human standards. No, an expert in knowing what happens when you don't get enough. Let's head home and I'll start reading through things. You can use me as your mattress. He offers and she smiles. I'd like that. Zabreza wakes up after a while. The rhythmic thumping of her Hoagie's heart is a soothing tempo. It's a soft and comforting pattern that she doesn't interfere with by even trying to move. He senses her awakening anyways, and the huge, calloused human hand finds its way onto her back. He lets out a slight hum and his entire torso seems to vibrate ever so slightly. It's so very soothing and reassuring. Feel better? It's the third time he's asked her that today. This time she does though, but she doesn't say it, just nuzzles closer with a little contented sound. That sounds like a yes. Stop talking, she tells him, and there's a soft chuckle that makes his chest move a little more. She starts drifting back out of consciousness. When next she wakes up, she feels herself being lowered onto the cooler pillow that Hoagie is setting her down on. Where are you going? I just need to have a long talk with the boys up in administration. I'm just going to be in the next room. He assures her and she nods before stretching. You haven't been asleep long. Not even an hour. You sorted out everything in an hour? Closer to a half hour, and it's just 23 different organizations. It was just a matter of sorting out those that have contracts with the most hives, farms, and independent contractors. If anything, I wasted time like an idiot. 23? Is that a lot or a little? Somewhere between the two. They run the gamut between big shipping companies to personal grocery and courier services. Nothing too over the top, but since I don't have the training for the types of scanner drones that will be used in the next part, I'm just going to schedule everything and get the ball moving on solving the problem. Once we get either an all clear or our suspects, we can make the next move. And if we get an all clear, Zabreza asks, then we go to the next level. If it's not in transportation, then it's in distribution, or possibly in wholesale or private retail after that. But by starting at the root, we get to work our way out with the entire thing in sight. Hoagie says before cracking his neck. Excuse me a minute, I just need to have a chat or two. Oh, don't worry. I've napped enough anyways, Zabreza assures him, even as she rises up and then takes off to hover upwards. She then stretches her body out in all directions and gets a good pull on all her muscles before curling into a ball to get the back muscles good and limber. Hey gents, this is Hoagie. I've narrowed down the suspect list and put everything in order. I'll be sending you an email with a list of companies that we need to hit with random inspections of their cargo haulers and a list of where they distribute to. As bad as food poisoning on the station is, it can get much worse if our exported product brings some unhappy people with big ships to the station. What's that? Why does she want to? This isn't sounding good. Zabreza zips up quietly and sets down nearby. I suppose that makes sense, but wouldn't Warlady Arishok rather just get what is hers, get her hands on the thief and depart? As nice as a sense of honor is, it can be annoying to deal with, Hoagie remarks. No, I'm not being overly modest, I just have a lot to do today. There's still a few more things once we get the scan started. What other things? Rumors that someone's been releasing vermin into the station, and that's especially bad for this sector. It's just rumors though, and is about as likely as someone with a phobia. Yes, I'm aware that more than a few locals evolved from such beings. Anyways, there are a few more after that, but we're in rumor and low priority territory after dealing with this poisoning. Right, you're on it? Good. Keep me posted on updates, and Arishok is going to be here how soon? Oh, Oh shit, that ship of hers is faster than reported then, Hoagie groans. I'll be waiting to receive her on time, don't worry. I'm bringing at least one of my wives with me, so if that's what she wants, then she can sit on it and rotate. How much? Hoagie asks after a moment. No, that's not enough money to get me to just randomly tell an alien warlord with enough firepower to reduce this station to slag to go fuck herself. Huh? Look, do you have anything else I need to know, or anything constructive to add, or are you just going to be an asshole? All right, good to know. Yeah, go fuck yourself, Abrams. Get those damn scans started already. None of us want to deal with a food riot or a pandemic, Hoagie says before hanging up. Swear to God that man thrives off being the biggest dickbag he can. Bad news? Zabriza asks him. Mixed. Things are getting done, but things are getting more complicated as well. Who's War Lady Arishok, and why is she coming here? I don't have her history or know what she's done really, but she's a pissed-off war lady with a big fleet full of bigger weapons, and a thief that made things personal was tracked here to Octaron Spin. I have the idiot cooling off in a cell and the things she stole ready for pickup. What'd she steal? Axiom ride bars? Historical artifacts? Some kind of art piece or a blueprint for an experimental new weapon? The locket her beloved mother gave her. The last memento she has of the woman. Oh, so the thief is that kind of idiot. Yes, not only picking fights she can't win, but going after prizes that can only bring the fight to you and not actually make you any real money. I'd have respected the woman more if she had taken anything you listed, the blueprint especially, but she didn't, so she's just an idiot. Okay, but that doesn't answer who Arishok is. Desert Nagasha. Apparently she has a combat style that involves 6 plasma swords all at once, and that's when she's not commanding a capital-class cruiser capable of reducing your average moon into gravel. And she's coming here? Yes. Well, I can't let her eye up my man, can I? I'm fairly sure she's married and has at least brought about the next generation in her line. Well then, I can't let her play matchmaker with my husband, can I? All right, if you want to get a guard retinue around me so much, go pick out the girls that will be joining us. Just remember, she's in a good mood and is not, currently, an enemy. I got it, Zabreza calls back as she flits through the hive. A war lady, not likely to snatch Daniel away from them. Very unlikely, in fact, but just because it's unlikely doesn't mean it can't happen. Still, a nice little show of force. There were those armored outfits that Hoagie had played with, seeing if there was a way to get them to work with the small size and buzzing wings of the Sharbi. It was good stuff, and they were happy to model for him. But it didn't have the whole about-to-attack flair that their usual outfits had, so they weren't used very often. Not to mention, most Sharbi's defense counted on the ever-effective truth that not being hit was the best defense against an attack. They had also taken to painting it all sorts of colors, mostly for their own amusement. But, well, it would send out a stronger message to a serious war lady, wouldn't it? A good step up from punks waving guns and knives all over the place. And aren't hives supposed to grow stronger together?